I'm lucky to call this man a friend. We, as a fandom of golf who are looking to improve, or even luckier, that he's taken a whole lot more to social media. And his name is Jon Tattersall. John, how are you?
I'm great, Mark. Thank you for having me on again, which is very kind of you.
Well, on a bit of a crusade. And this crusade is to bringing truth to golf instruction, which I hate to say it hasn't lost the plot because people are trying to bring good information and improve. But gosh, folks are using some big words and stuff nowadays, don't you find?
Yeah, I think the medical community sounds cool, and they've brought big words from that into it. And then there's a lot of things coming from everywhere, every different direction, and trying to get some likes and notice on social media. I understand that what I try and do is really sort through things the best I can, understand what the principles are about. But what's the thing in meat? If it bleeds, it leads. So people are trying to get that sensationalism and get some likes going, and then they go from there. And maybe that will help people or not. But that doesn't seem to be the motivation. It seems to be how many views can you get rather than actually help people.
Yeah, I want to milk this a little bit more. You talked about the principles that apply. I know we've got something else planned to talk about.
Hmm.
I'm going to stay tuned because John's going to break some myths, and there's tons of them. As far as Jon Tattersall is concerned, what are the myths? Not the myths, the principles that you hold dear to your heart.
Well, I say that we're in the energy transfer business as golf professionals. We're trying to get the person to get energy from them to the club head.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're trying to then help them find the ball and hit it straight. So a lot of people are trying to rotate the body very, very quickly with no real idea that it's going to get to the club head. So any idea that gets more speed to the club head and the face is where we need it, I'm all for. A lot of the ideas that are out there don't seem to keep in mind we're really trying to get energy to the club head and trying to find the golf ball.
I once said something to an elite golfer, one of those who plays for a living that has the name
Yeah.
in the bag. Um, you know about those folks.
Mm-hmm.
And he hit me with, I've got this feeling that I'm using my legs and my glutes and stuff like this, and it was working great, but now I'm just not hitting the ball as flush and I've lost control. And I looked at him and I felt led to sort of say, I'm like, what you're telling me is an indirect influence on the club face. Yeah, if you move that area better, it could proliferate, but not necessarily because there's a
Yeah.
whole lot of connective tissue between your hips and your core and your hands and the club head. So what you're saying is sort of along those lines, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of theories out there that you use the pivot to square the club face, and I'm fortunate I get to talk to a lot of engineers. The ping guys have been great. I have a Titleist contract, so I have to be a little careful there. But
Yeah.
they have, and Fujikura has it too. It's called an Enzo machine, and Ping call it focal, and it's actually measuring what the club is doing. So it's cool from a golf pro's perspective because it doesn't see the golfer. It's just purely what is the club doing that the golfer's swinging.
Hmm.
And I think the average rate of closure, the average rate the face closes on tour is around 2,500 degrees per second of rotation. Victor Hovland's on the low end at
Uh-huh.
2000. So there's a lot of social media that look how well he squares the face with his body. Well, no part of his body is going at 2000 degrees per second. He's rotating, maybe the club's rotating around that point. And Jimmy Walker, I think, was the high they measured at 4,000 degrees per second. Walker's won a major, he won the PGA.
Yeah.
So he would be the ultimate end of not having a stable club face. And he's played on tour for however many years and won a major and won multiple times. So those are the kind of things that, to just a recreational player listening, they're trying to then use their body to square the face. And there's so many pieces, just moving my hands through 180 degrees without my body moving. It's not going to square the face. There's a lot of things going on. Uh,
Yeah.
and people, use that kind of analogy, and that might be what the player feels, but that's not reality. And
So
you've been a great player, you've been around great players. They can tell you one thing, they would swear it's absolute gospel. The next week they'd tell you they never ever said that. So, that's what we deal with listening to players.
you know, I oftentimes say this because I get on these shows as a broadcaster now because I'm, a little less teacher and more broadcaster.
Hmm.
Um, and everyone's lobbing statistics at me all of the time.
Hmm.
They're worshiping at the altar of strokes gained. And I'm like, there's so much more to it than just the hitting of the ball. But anyhow, that's an aside. What I'm getting to is that I'll say to them, statistics are like a lamppost to a drunk man.
Mhm.
Some use it for illumination and some use it for support. But I can
Yeah,
find a statistic to massage or to fit my any argument if I just look hard enough. Now, I'm
yeah,
saying that to say with this whole pivot squares the face rate of closure thing, everyone will show you a picture of Trevino or Hovland or Dustin Johnson or a lot of these dudes that play with a lot of wrist flexion and a shut face that are rotating to keep it square.
yeah.
Um, and then they make that the argument. I'm like, this is only half of the whole topic here.
Yes, yeah, and I was hopefully in that keeping. I got a chance to work with Jesper Parnevik a little bit
Mhm.
20 years ago. His brother-in-law Per Hansen I worked with the most, and we were with Andy and Mike from Stack and Tilt. So this is not a knock on them, but they were showing Jesper, who's a phenomenal player and a great mimic. He can kind of do many different things. They showed him a picture of like Palmer and somebody else. And he'd worked with Jimmy Ballard at one point in his career, and then he's doing stack and tilt at that point in his career. And he said, you know what's funny is Jimmy Ballard showed me the exact same player 15 years ago and told me the exact opposite of what you're telling me now. So we see what we want to see, don't we? A lot of times,
Exactly.
and a lot of times we're all uh, we have flavors of the month as coaches and that kind of thing. So I use stats and I try to use as much data as possible to kind of keep me honest. Honestly, it's like, am I getting up and seeing something different that day, or am I actually seeing what's actually happening? So I love data for that reason. It kind of is as good a picture as I can get to keep me it within the lines as well as a coach.
No, yeah, and I agree wholeheartedly. In context is everything, and the context is the thing. And I hope what you say there for all the instructors and coaches watching this is a bit of a call to arms because I firmly believe that if all you have in your toolbox is a hammer,
Yeah,
eventually everything's going to be a nail to you. So
right.
you gotta you got to be able to look wide and not just get zoned in on one element because you've seen it so much.
Yeah, I have a lot of good friends in the business, and you're seeing tons of great players that play well. I think it's really, really good to look at things and go, okay, why is that working? And
Mhm.
not just surround yourself with people that agree with you. So,
Yeah.
and we're further along in our careers, so I understand that we were probably in one trench for a while and then we jumped around a bit. But I think we have seen enough stuff at this point to understand why something works, why something doesn't work. And one of my major concerns for any athlete is making sure they're not doing something that's going to hurt them.
Yeah.
Uh, that's one of the big things for me.
Well,
And
you and I have the luxury of being around instruction when we help people hit the ball straight without a launch monitor.
correct.
Remember that? Just had a
Absolutely.
Sony Handycam. Right.
Yeah.
With that,
Yeah.
John, for the folks who don't know who you are, please give us the quick intro. Tell us about you some before we dive into the material.
Yeah, I born in England and moved here the late 80s.
Mhm.
Was very fortunate to kind of not. I worked for a great guy, Buck Adams, at Country Club in North Carolina. So my eyes were open to a lot of stuff in the golf business. So I was going the club pro route, but I really loved coaching. Buck was a great player. He did coach, but he wasn't really a teacher like we would think of it now. But Ledbetter was becoming really well known back in the late 80s, and obviously Faldo had won the Open in 87, I think it was. And I literally picked up the phone one day and called Gregor Jameson down at Lake Nona. And I went down to see Gregor, and then I got to meet David. And David was so gracious, like just say, "Come on out, stand on the range, be on the back of the range and watch me coach." So
Mhm.
that kind of sparked my mind into what was potential there for a coach, because that wasn't something that was that prevalent at that point. And then just been on a journey since then, really trying to partly possibly be in English. You're new to the country like you are, and you're just like, why not? You came to a different country. Why not call people and just see if you can go see them and find out what's going on? So I've kind of been on a very quick 35-year journey of doing those things. The last few years, I would have say I've TPI opened in the early 2000s, and that really sparked me looking at different things and seeing how the body was moving. So I own a facility in Atlanta now which is a performance center slash gym. So we have great trainers, so I understand what the body's trying to do, what it can do. And then more recently, there's been more technology in our world to actually measure what's going on. So that's been really the fascination. Like I very respectfully listen to great players because they are great players, but I really want to measure what they're doing because as I said a minute ago, they could tell you one thing week and another thing another week. So if I'm trying to give information to somebody who's paying me money, I want as good a information as I can get.
Amen, brother. And between John and I, we have the strangest sounding Georgian accents of anybody around the Peach State.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
right, let's dive into it. And like I said to you before we went live, I was like, I've been on this crusade about, real truth. And look,
yeah.
real truth fans, if you're listening to this for the first time, welcome. Is how the ball performs.
Hmm.
John says we're in the energy transfer business. So I said to him, hey, let's talk about this. And I get back, absolutely. And so you gave me a few things to talk about. And here's the first one I'm going to pitch to you. Um, you say rotation is the primary thing uh, recreational golfers see. It's not primary in majority of elite players. So to
Hmm.
paraphrase what John's saying there to me, folks, is like everyone at your club is hearing about rotation, 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 rotation.
Yeah.
In the elite golfer, that's not necessarily the case. So please elaborate.
Yeah. So if I had a tour player here yesterday who brought one of his friends in, and the friend was trying to do what he thought the tour player was trying to do, and then we had force plates on
Mm-hmm.
the tour player, so we could actually show them. So clearly, players are rotating, but if you, like I said, if you ask a recreational player how to rotate, or you ask a lot of coaches how to rotate, they simply say, "Okay, you're just going to rotate." And so the rotation I see more of, think old school, think Jack Nicklaus. If you look at my phone, I'm rotating it parallel to the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And that is more what we call frontal plane torque. So that's a rotation on a very vertical axis.
Yeah.
Most golfers wouldn't say, yes, you rotate on this axis. They'd say you rotate on a very flat
Frontal.
axis.
Mm-hmm.
And so the rotation on a flat axis doesn't get energy to the club head quite as well as you'd like to. It doesn't make you push the ground as well as you'd like to. And also the golf club obviously is on the ground. So we need some kind of blend between this one and this one to make the club reach the ground. To create rotation, really, you're pushing the ground with your feet. It's the only connection we have.
Mm-hmm.
And your center of your body mass is kind of somewhere just above your belt. So your feet are wider than the center of the mass or center of your body. So how we push the ground, more linear push,
Yeah.
falling over would then create rotation, but it also creates rotation on a tilt, which is what we need. Most recreational golfers think of rotation and they don't have any tilt to what they're doing. They're very flat. Their arms get out of position. So they are trying to rotate. They're trying to do what they've been told to do, but they're not rotating on a tilt. They're not rotating kind of vertically. The problem is when we've measured really elite players, they move side to side better than recreational players.
Okay.
Obviously, their head's pretty steady, and they're more on this vertical axis the way they rotate. But they don't talk about that because they know how to do it. It's like that's it's common to them. So they talk about trying to, they talk about, okay, I want to turn through the shot. Well, a recreational golfer's in a very different starting spot. So they're trying to do what a tour player is doing or saying, but they're not starting from the same starting point. So that's the biggest issue with amateurs trying to do what they hear a tour player say, but they don't quite know what a tour player does. And we're having better tools to measure that now.
How about I sort of pitch this one at you and let you go there? And I'm gleaning from what you say, where I'm listening to you going, gosh, if more amateur golfers just went and put a ball below their feet in practice,
Yeah.
then they'd help themselves learn that right away. And
Yes.
strangely, as far as uneven lies go, it is the one that most recreational golfers will struggle with.
Absolutely. Yeah, they will. They will struggle. So when I came to the States, we never played hockey really in England, like ice hockey.
Mhm.
There is more of that now, I guess. But I did stuff in New York for a while, and I'd be up there doing stuff, and in Canada, and I'd see these guys who weren't particularly what I would call like built correctly for golf. Very strong, strong lower body, short backswings. They'd absolutely kill it. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, how are you doing that?
Mhm.
And they're like, well, we play hockey up here. And I was like, okay, well, explain hockey to me. I was like, so well, they got to dig in with their skates first of all. They're not. You said if you tried to rotate without digging in, you'd fall over.
Yeah.
So they're pushing against the ground with massive strength, and then they're moving the stick kind of in this manner to hit it. And they beat the crap out of the ball with a backswing about this long. So I'm like, okay, I need to figure out what's going on
Mhm.
because they're not doing all this stuff, and they're hitting the ball further than I could at the time, and they looked pretty darn awkward with it. But they knew how to transfer energy using the body going more in this direction than just rotating.
Yeah.
Uh,
I want to, folks, John's doing a beautiful job of, whilst he explains the concept, illustrating it by body movement. So go to YouTube and check this out. You'll see what he's saying. I want to go further here because you talk about the ice skater, for argument's sake, or the golfer for that matter. And we
mhm,
have had Joe Lacaze on here recently, and he talked about
mhm.
text motion stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very good.
What are you going to say then to the cadre of folks who have read a Brandel Chambly book or whatever the case might be, and they're like,
Mhm.
well, Chambly told me to lift my left heel.
Yeah.
Because people almost take things a little too literally at times, and they just raise the left heel instead of the body movement allowing the heel to raise. So go there, please.
Yeah, Jeff Flagg is a guy I spent some time with who was a world long drive champion 2014, I think, and now he's a strength and conditioning coach, or he has been. He played Major League Baseball. Fast Eddie Fernandez, you probably had on the show. I think you did recently. I've spent some time with Eddie. So and Eddie's a big proponent of Rotex.
Yeah.
So they're trying to rotate and shift on a tilt.
Yes.
So if somebody rotates very well, say you imagine a piece of string, say from your knee, left knee or lead knee to your trail shoulder, I would say to people try and get that to stretch as much as possible up and behind you.
Okay.
The knee's going to move a little bit, so
Hmm.
it's going to go a little bit, but it's going to bring the left side across. So there's that kind of three-dimensional movement where there's linear, there's vertical, and there is some rotation.
Hmm.
So if the foot comes up because of that, all good. But if you're just lifting the left leg, you could lift your left leg and still have the same amount of pressure on your right foot. We want dynamic movement.
Yeah.
And one of the other things that I think is confusing to recreational players, if you stand face on looking at a tour player, and you're standing on the practice tee a lot of times with them, so you can feel the energy going on. But if you're looking on TV, it's like it's very smooth and it's synchronized. You're on the range, you see how much they tear up the ground now with their feet, and it's a massive amount.
It's a change from when we were playing the game way back in the
Oh
day.
my gosh, yeah. I mean, I'd noticed a few years ago, like Per Ulrich was 5'7", maybe. I mean, he'd probably say he's 5'8", but I'd go 5'7". But I'd noticed years ago he didn't dig up the turf much where he hit, but where his feet had been, it just tore it up, and his shoes were all torn up all the time. So I started looking at this, going, what the heck is going on here? And very different from like quiet feet and all that kind of stuff. But when you look at a tour player, they are pushing so much in different directions, but it's coordinated. So their body looks like it's fairly stable. But if I said to Alex Rokas, the guy who was in yesterday, I said, Alex, if you took somehow, if we could take your left leg and put it on the recreational golfer's right left leg on, and they have their normal right leg,
Hmm.
and you pushed as hard as you push in the backswing, they would fall over. You know what's coming. Your right leg's going to stabilize. So now it pushes incredibly hard with the lead leg, then the trail leg pushes. So you look stable, but the recreational player has no idea what linear forces towards the ball forces are going on. You are on the practice tee and you get to see and hear it, but people behind the ropes, if they could get close to that and see what that feels like, it's a massive amount of energy, but it's beautifully coordinated, so it looks smooth. And
Gosh, yeah, brilliant. So many questions. I quickly want to go here about that movement because, like, if I had a dime for every amateur club golfer that I looked at address, they might be correct. They're sort of
mhm,
in the right areas and they're addressing the ball, but they don't look alive.
correct, yeah.
It doesn't look like muscles are ready for some stuff to take place. All right.
No, no,
And that's
no.
that's also what, starting from the right place and getting stuff woken up is sort of the precursor to all of that. Yes.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, there was a picture in Hogan's book, Five Fundamentals, I think, where it looked like somebody had stuck a dynamo in him. I
Hmm.
had no idea what that meant when I first read it, but now I know. And then the other thing's interesting, like this weekend on the telecast with the Ryder Cup, they had the whoop on a couple of players.
Yeah.
So, I spent time with phenomenal sports psychologists. It was all when I was growing up, it's about how to get into the zone, how to calm down. Justin Thomas's heart rate was
They're
like
going the other way.
150. It's like there's nothing calm about this at all.
Uh-huh.
And the long drive guys they're getting pumped up to hit the golf ball, and they're getting the entire adrenaline system pumped up, and the breathing's getting intense. So completely different starting point from what I thought we had to do to what I realize we need to do now. I'm a little pissed off that I learned at this age, but Trying to save somebody else some pain at this point.
Hey, folks, for what John said there, just so I could clean that up a little bit, not clean it up, but add to this. The sedate, the quiet and stuff, that's the stuff inside your head. You don't want the noise there. You want your body
Yeah.
to be ready and your mind to be calm. One more
Yeah.
quickly before we go on. You did a very cool video, and your videos lately have been fantastic.
Thank you.
Folks got to go check out John's Instagram handle. It's called Tattersall Golf. But you qualified because you talked about the pushing and the moving side to side and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Most golfers misunderstand that. And you've done a video talking about swaying too much and then not enough. But then you did a really good video on separating what is moving the center of pressure and the center of mass. Where
Yeah.
most golfers are moving the mass side to side, where the elites are moving pressure, and the mass is pretty well not staying in one place, but it's not dominating the movement.
Yeah, I think the one was with Frederick actually on the cheap balance board we had. So the perfect example yesterday on the force plates, we can project onto the ground where the left and or the lead foot trail foot is.
Mm-hmm.
So we had an amateur in that came in with Alex, and we had Alex. Alex's feet, when you were looking at them, it can project where the center of mass is, where the center of pressure is. The center of pressure was in red. It was darting back and forth from lead foot to trail foot. And
Yeah.
the blue dot, the center of mass, was hardly moving. It was moving a couple of inches, but it was really staying very level when projected on the ground. There is some up and down going on too. And then the recreational player, we put him on the force plates, and he's a big, strong dude. And his mass was almost getting outside of his feet.
Yeah.
And it was definitely at the edges of where his pressure was. And so, just like when we fall over, you never want to get your mass outside of where the pressure is.
Yeah,
So
as a
it's
hockey player, no, just
we're,
the ice
yeah,
hockey player. Yeah.
yeah, we're saving lives here, Mark. So if you can get people to keep their center of mass in the right place, one of the analogies I use, if you think of a speed skater, when you see them push, they push kind of back and to the side, but
Yeah.
their head isn't moving a whole lot. Their legs are going like crazy. We need more of that. We don't need just still. So
Yeah.
I find balance is not falling over.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think when you and I were growing up, balance was like, look how balanced he is. Well, they're pushing in different directions to stay balanced.
Yeah. A couple things. Yeah. You stirring the golf instructor inside and the fan too.
Good.
Um, First off, the center of mass, people could sort of imagine sort of around their belly button. Am I
Safe
correct?
way to do it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And then the pressure is what you're doing with your feet. And as you're
Yes.
doing that push side to side, I imagined a frog, with the body staying going one direction and the strong legs doing the rest.
Oh yeah. 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 Yeah.
Um, Along those lines, I a lot of folks, I've heard Terry Rolls say to me, he goes, "You don't want to take away from movement. You just want to make sure the movement works in an area."
Yes.
And so many great golfers, like from Sam Snead, talked about hitting balls without his shoes on and
Yeah.
how his feet worked on the ground and where the pressure moved inside the feet was sort of a way to do it. So share for the folks just to say, okay, if you go to the range this afternoon,
Hmm.
this is how you can really get the pressure moving properly between your feet, whereas keeping your mass somewhat stable between those two areas.
Yeah, I'd love it if they go to before they go to the range, look up on YouTube and look at like a pitcher in baseball
Okay.
and look at a face on video of a pitcher. When they load in the backswing, their head kind of they're pushing up the mound and their head is staying kind of to the left side, but their leg is making sure they don't fall off the back of the mound. And then they push linear incredibly hard, but they land with the lead leg outside of their head. They're not landing it and it's a definite land before they throw.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of energy transfer we want. So if somebody just everybody does a step drill. A lot of times they're always step drills towards a target. I'd like more amateurs to step drill where the left leg or the lead leg comes to the right foot in the backswing, like get the energy going in the backswing, and they'll generally keep energy going in the golf swing. Everybody wants to hit it further. To me, they're always thinking about acceleration towards a target. They're not loading the spring. I know you've had John Novosel on, and he and I do a lot of stuff together. And the energy over time, we can't. Every great player is about the same amount of time. We can't get more time, so all we can do is increase energy the entire swing. And one of the key learnings for me years ago was when Biomechanism talked about impulse.
Yeah.
Sounded like a quick jump of something. It's actual energy times the entire time of the swing. So if you're going to ramp up energy, first and foremost, ramp up energy into the trail side and move prior to impact, I would say. Like do some swings without hitting initially.
I'm glad you said the last bit prior to impact because I've seen countless folks, and I'm certain you have, when I've done that drill where you step back and then you step forward and go and hit, where they can't get the forward step landed before the downswing's happening. Hey, yeah, you
Yeah.
laugh.
Oh,
That's
no,
crazy.
no, absolutely. Yeah, they're late pulling the leg across, and then they're very late with it going. And if you watch them, they always lead with the
Fall
head.
forward, yeah.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
they wonder why they're out of balance in their follow through.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, in their defense, I would say that they've always heard you've got to be on your lead leg at impact, and
That's
the
ruined more golfers than car accidents.
oh
Huh?
my gosh, yeah, yeah, and so yes, the golfer is again back to the center of mass. The center of mass in numerous players we've tested, even with irons, it doesn't get ahead of where they started, and it doesn't get below where they started. It stays up and to the right a little bit,
Mhm.
even with an iron, but they're pushing incredibly hard with their lead leg. So their lead leg is working incredibly hard. So to a golfer, that might feel like they're on their lead leg,
Yeah, true.
like they'd swear to you they're on the lead leg, but they're just pushing so hard with the lead leg towards the target, which gets the club, gets the energy transferred. Now you've got a stopping point. Now we can transfer energy through the body and get it to the club head, hopefully. Um, but they're not on their lead leg.
I had sort of a derivative of what you described there with a lesson yesterday. And all of a sudden he's hitting the ball twice as high with a draw. And he
Love
kept on going, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. He's like, I feel like I'm staying behind the ball. I'm like, well, you're not really. Yeah, your
it.
mass is staying behind it, but you're putting the forward pressure and
Love
he's
it.
pushing away from that leg, almost away from the target. And because the lead side was going backward, the trail side went through. And so the club
Right.
released on line better.
Yeah, and the thing I try and show people is how early that's happening. It's the
Yeah.
lead leg with an iron is pushing its maximum amount when the shaft is last parallel to the ground. So, 90 degrees before impact with the club head. And with a driver in the elite drivers, is when the lead arm is parallel to the ground. So
Crazy.
it's very early. It's very, very early. So if you didn't get the thing right in the backswing, you're not going to catch up in the downswing. If you're behind going back, and that's where most amateurs are, they thought the game started at four and it started at three. It's like they were late to the party to begin with, and then they're trying very hard in the downswing. And if not for you because you know this, but like a recreational player saying to somebody when they hit a bad shot, "Oh, you got quick on that one." I'm like, "You've never been quick in your life. You've no idea what speed is." What I think they're missing, or what they're seeing a difference in speed from backswing to downswing that's too big a difference. So
Yeah.
it looks quick at that point in time. It's not that it was quick, it was just the relative speed. And tour players are very quick away from the ball, so then they don't rush in the downswing, but they're incredibly fast overall.
You're thoroughly professional there because you led me into my next observation of yours.
We didn't set this up earlier either.
No, but I want to say this, folks. In as simple as what John's making the whole thing sound, we were just talking about correct rotation and body movement over there. We didn't move to a different topic. That was
No.
the whole thing. And so rotation, when someone tells you just to turn your shoulders, that's like Advil for the guy. Yeah, if you're on audio, my guy John is shaking his head vigorously over there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go from the rotation being the primary thing,
Yeah.
timing of the swing, which you sort of led me into. Because a lot of guys, I mean, everyone's enamored with the pause at the top, like Hideki Matsuyama or Cameron
hmm
Young.
hmm
Okay, have a go, please.
Outliers.
Outliers, yeah.
Outliers. So yeah, they're well. If you look at Hideki and look at Cameron, I wish I was built like Cameron. I wish I was built like Hideki.
Strong
Uh,
dude. Yeah.
strong, strong
Got
dude.
big leg.
And just to kind of, I don't know the right way to say this, but if you look at most Asian males, they don't have lower bodies like Hideki. They got generally no glute strength, and I work with a number of Asian players who are very, very good, and it's a bit of a running joke, but it's kind of Hideki is not normal from a normal human, but particularly from where that part of the world he's from. So he has massive horsepower that he's not fully utilizing. He's also done some work with Fast Eddie, and when he goes without a pause, his ball speed goes up to 190. So he can play on PGA Tour at somewhere in the 170s ball speed, which is still incredibly fast. but he's playing below what his full capacity is. That's probably his best playing speed. But he,
Incidentally, I've seen him on the range after play, just unloading, and I saw the
yeah.
numbers, and they were way up there in terms of club head speed and ball speed.
Yeah, and so that's either kind of he knows he has that and he doesn't feel comfortable playing at that speed, or he has to hit wedges too, doesn't he? So he's like there's a reason why he's doing it. But that's where I think people get, like we were told growing up, swing at 80%. But the problem was we didn't get the 100% up high enough. So if everybody's trying to play at 80%, then that's fine, but you better have a high 100 basically. And Cameron Young's an absolute specimen. I mean, he's phenomenal. Um, but what we found also is he's not slow in the beginning of the swing.
Yeah.
He's slow in transition. And what we found is that the players who are better are faster earlier, and then their brain or their body is figuring out, okay, I've got to make a transition. So they're actually slowing the backswing about arm high in the backswing. They're starting to slow earlier. And that's why they possibly say it feels like a pause.
Yeah.
It is maybe a tiny, tiny pause, but it's not something I'd try and teach. If I did, I'd say go fast early. Your brain says, hey, you give me enough power here, and then it doesn't feel rushed in transition. Whereas if you try and go slow, the brain's now going, the alarm bells are going off. I don't have enough speed. I've got to really speed up.
How about I turn that a little bit and look at the shadow of your observation? Were you talking about the club head pace is fast, gradually slowing to the
Hmm.
top, then slowing, then accelerating in a hurry down through the golf ball? For that to happen, if you get your legs working properly at the right time underneath you, that club's going to take care of itself to a certain extent, except at the start of the swing.
Correct, yeah. But even then, when we're on force plates, force precedes motion.
Yeah.
So the legs are going to move even in the backswing prior to motion. Like we generally see, again, with this player yesterday, we had a tour player and the left leg spiked, the force went up.
So he was
And then
pushing away from it. Yeah. All right.
correct. And the recreational player, you could barely, it looked like this. It looked like flatlining. Yeah, there's hardly anything. And what was interesting was exactly what you just did. Old school, like they used to say, hey, drag the handle. Look how Hogan's making the handle move back. What I think it was now is the center of their body was moving, and the club head obviously doesn't know until it's moved. So
Yeah.
the center of the body was moving, the handle was moving, and then the club. So I thought that was correct in the backswing before, but now I know it's the legs are working, everything's working. Again, energy over a longer period of time. And there is a rapid deceleration in the downswing too, which we can get into if you want to. But
Please do. Okay.
oh,
Yes,
yeah,
because I can't tell you how many times when some poor golfer, right-hander, shows up and he's hitting the right side of the golf course. And then
yeah,
that an instructor saying, well, you got to hit more from the inside to hit a draw. And then he just hits it farther to the right.
correct.
And he's dragging on the handle so hard. And I'm like, no, that handle needs to slow down, my friend, for the head to catch up. Please do.
Massively.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, massively. So just technically the handle slows right around 8 o'clock on a watch face. That's
Yeah.
and we don't honestly know. Some people will say that the club going away from the body is now going to slow the handle, or the amount of force I've seen, the handle's actually slowing when the club is still up in the air. So this hasn't started to go away yet.
All right.
But that kind of process of the handle going down and the head coming up is what we want to encourage. So any thought of shaft lean generally kills a recreational player because they're trying to drive the hands across the shaft. They're trying to lean it and compress it. I don't know if you have Paul. Have you ever had Paul Wood on from Ping? You probably
Yes,
have.
I have. We did a wedge thing, and he dropped
Yeah.
eight on me, and I was like a child. I was like a kid in a candy store,
Yeah.
and I just kept on. I was like, he was giving so much stuff, almost to a place where I feared that the listener and the viewer were getting a little concerned.
Oh
And
yeah.
then I'd just sort of say to them, "Look, stop trying to lean on the shaft so hard and pull the thing." I mean, I've one of the great pictures of all time in Sevi Ballesteros. It looked like the clubhead was overtaking his hands through
Oh
contact,
yeah.
no matter what the
Oh,
wedge was that he was hitting. And on the way through, he'd pull that thing off the ground. He'd never try and release the head past the hands.
no, no. And I texted Paul a few weeks ago and said, "Hey, how do you define compression as an engineer? Because we as golf pros we talk about compression all the time. Like a lot of people come to me thinking if they just compressed it better, it's magically going to fly further. It's like we have to have speed. It's not going to just magically squeeze more." He goes, and so his text back was like, "Well, you technically you can't compress a solid object. You can only compress gas." So that's how the conversation started. So I'm like, okay, can we bring it down a few notches? But he
Okay,
said,
wait, stop, John, stop.
yeah,
Fans, what? And I'm reading between the lines of what John said there, which is gospel truth. In that golf, we have all of this jargon, and it's getting worse by the day.
yeah,
And then you're like, well, I got to compress it more. But the truth is, the ball's only going to go farther if it's going faster off your club face. I'm sorry.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the great commercial I love, like a number of, we're in Georgia, so we have a lot of people who are members of a club east of Atlanta that's very, very nice. They hold a tournament once a year.
Little invitational.
Yeah,
Exactly.
a tournament, yeah.
Yeah.
A few years ago, one of my clients said he watched Tiger warm up before he won. I think it was '09, and he said, so I went on the practice tee after Tiger warmed up on Sunday. So it was incredible. He'd taken the grass and not touched the dirt, and he'd hit every club in his bag, and he'd flushed it. He went on to win, and he said, "How is that a thing?" Like when I grew up, he said, and this guy was a very, very good amateur, and he said, "I thought we were supposed to compress." I'm like, "Well, no, we're trying to get the angle of attack to kind of match the loft. We're not trying to do this. We're trying to get it to match like that." And then of course the Scotty Scheffler and Tiger commercial that's out there from TaylorMade where
You don't
Scotty's like,
tell me about this divot thing.
yeah, how come you don't take divots when you hit your irons? He's like, well, I don't know. When I flush my irons, I don't take divots. But we know that's the angle of attack and that's just the radius. He's not trying to do this.
Mhm.
It's more of that.
How about I put this to you? Because I'm a big one for taking a concept and giving people the knowledge, which you're doing, making it cerebral, then turning it into a feel and making it something that they can take with them.
Hmm.
And oftentimes I just put something in front of a golfer, like maybe an impact bag, maybe a golf bag or whatever, and turn the club upside down. I'm not hit this thing hard.
Hmm.
Do that, the club lines up in front of them and they're never ever dragging on the handle. Or if you're chopping down a tree, you're never pulling the handle past the tree. That's not energy transfer.
No, no. What you said a minute ago about the guy you had yesterday, I tell people all the time, hit it high for me.
Yeah.
I like a guy yesterday. I said, driver off the deck is almost impossible to do, but just if you had to swing the driver so it kissed the grass and not the leading edge, but the back edge, and it's kind of skimming the grass like that, then I tee it up fairly low and I said, okay, now try and hit it high. Nobody's going to try and lean the shaft like that. They're going to try and get the shaft to line up more vertically into the ball. So I a lot of times, honestly, all this stuff, I'm like, just hit it as high as you can. Like you're not going to hit it anywhere near as high as a tour player, but if you hit it higher and solid, you're creating more speed. And the mindset for the player completely shifts from trying to compress it to try and get speed to the club head without telling them anything technical.
You
It's
know what?
based on stuff I've learned, but it's like, yeah, just hit the damn thing in the air.
What
Hit
magically
it.
happens then too is that lateral shift onto the outside of the front foot sort of magically goes away. Huh?
Right, yeah, no, it's really good. And so William Wu, I think it is the motor learning guy, said as much as we can take external cues, that the brain works better to get something going. So we need to learn sometimes concepts to feel the body move. But if you're then taking that to performance, if I can get a player to externally see something, look at a tree, how high you're hitting it relative to a tree, their brain starts to solve the problem. And you've been again around tremendous players. It's amazing to me when I say, "Hey, I try and hit this shot," and immediately the shape of their body changes without them thinking about it. They're seeing what they want to see. They've done it before, and they know how to move to make that happen. And that's a lot of times where I help good players is just like try and see this shot more often. Don't try and hit this shot.
It's amazing to me because I joked about you and me being kind of old timers, but we're bridges between the very old and the very new now. And so
Yeah.
I've been lucky enough to spend time like around Gary players, and he's told me things that he's heard from Trevino and Byron Nelson and company like that. And a lot of the legends of the game talk about that.
Hmm.
Player said to me, he goes, if I want to hit it high, I finish high. If I want to hit it low, I finish low. And that's how the body situates.
Yeah.
He goes, Mr. Nelson, Byron Nelson. I asked him one time, how do I hit it high? Or how do you hit it high? And Nelson's like, I just think high. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that happens, your body, the athletic element of your body is going to organize to get that done.
It is, yeah, yeah, I love that. And for me, mentally, that was never enough. I thought they were holding something back from me.
Yep.
They were basically telling us what to do
Me
and just
too.
go freaking do it. Where
Yeah.
we probably wanted, no, no, tell me, just go do it. But I use slopes a lot. So if I want someone to load better, I'll put them on a down slope. So they have to get to the right side better in the backswing. I may not have them hit off a downslope, but I'll certainly make them feel like they're pushing, again, like the baseball pitcher, pushing up the mound. If they're getting too far ahead with their head, I'll put them on a slight up slope and then say, again, try and hit it high, try and not dig into the ground with the club, try and graze the ground if you can.
Hmm.
But a lot of once I've tried to figure out what's going on with the swing, I'll try and create a condition that will make them do that without too many thoughts.
Yeah, I love it. Well, look, you've sort of helped us, and you listed it. You said the shaft lean illusion, and I'm going to
Hmm.
add to that the illusion of lag too, because
Right.
I had a few interactions on my YouTube channel, yeah, with folks talking about, the lag in the downswing, and I'm like, that is a stitch in time there, man.
Oh
You
yeah.
seeing this elite guy at high speed on the way down to the golf ball, he's not trying to hold on to that wrist angle and lag the club on the way in there. Sorry.
No, and so the illusion of lean in the shaft. If you look at a player at address, elite player at address, their body motion is their shoulders are generally more tilted to the trail side through impact. Their shoulders aren't that open at impact; they're more vertically tilted.
Yeah.
Their chest might be slightly open, and they're definitely their pelvis is tilted to the right slightly. They're pushing into their lead leg pretty significantly. If you kind of look at where the arms are, they're more toward the right hip than they are in front to the left hip.
Hmm.
So the club appears to be leaning forwards, but keep in mind the club has made a massive, deceleration hitting the golf ball.
Yeah.
So the club was coming down very quickly, trying to get into lead flexion. The shaft manufacturers will tell you, even with an iron, the shaft is leaning forwards at impact, but it suddenly hits an object, and we take a snapshot at impact, and now the handle looks like it's ahead of the head for a moment,
Yeah.
but the head suddenly stopped, so the handle looks like it went forward. So the pivot's in a different spot, and the club head just came to a rapid deceleration. So it's the illusion of that lean forwards, and then lag would be the thing that people try and do to then get into that position. So they're I jokingly say, and being English, we can be a little sarcastic, but you're leading the tour in grip speed, and they're like, well, your grip is going faster than anybody I've measured that plays for a living. So do you think that's something we want to do? And they're like, I think you're messing with me, aren't you? And I know, well, I'm just trying to get the point across that
Yeah.
you thinking this is going to make the head go faster. We need the club to turn from linear speed into angular speed, and that's when the head starts to pass the handle.
Linear speed into angular speed. That's a big deal because
Hmm.
I think it's the scourge of our industry. The misunderstanding when people think of the golf swing, how, and you might, if you're looking at deep plane data on a launch monitor, it
Hmm.
gives you numbers, and people just think in straight lines then. But this
Yeah.
golf club's not going in a straight line. It's going around you in an orbit.
Correct. Yeah. And our job's to control that orbit.
Yeah.
And again, back to the rotation, if you just think in rotation, generally you're turning level to the ground, which is not the orbit we want to be on.
Oh, John, I could keep you forever. I want to ask you this, just one thing to wrap, because we've touched a lot of things in just a few concepts here. Um, I don't want to ask you what you know for sure, but if you just had to look at the audience now and say, okay, here are the marching orders, no matter where your station is in the game,
Hmm.
go and focus here if you want to improve the way you strike the golf ball. What would that be?
I would say definitely try and hit the ball high.
Yeah.
And I would say that more amateurs are trying to hit their irons in one way and driver in another. And I would say try and swing your irons like a driver for a little while and see how you do. Because, like we said a couple of times, the handle is going up.
Yeah.
So the club head happens to be going down at impact or close to impact, but the force is not down. The force is coming up at that point.
Hmm.
And so the golf club rotates around close to the head, as you know. So then if I pull the handle up, the head actually descends.
Yeah.
A lot of recreational players are trying to do what they're told. They're trying to
Keep
hit
their
down.
head down, keeping their head
Yeah,
down. Yeah.
they're being good students. And so concepts are really, really important. So if they can be okay with a divot, maybe not happening, but trying to see maybe if you put the ball on a small tee with an iron, how many times could you use the same tee and hit the ball in the air?
Now you sound
Mo-
like
I wasn't there for,
now you sound like Harvey Pinnock with his weed whacker. Where he used to give,
yeah,
we'll
yeah,
just go
put it
clip
out of
the
business.
weeds
Yeah,
there through contact.
yeah, yeah. Well, what was it? Mo Norman said like he never breaks a tee. What the hell does that mean? But he's not doing this to the tee. He was taking it off the top of the tee because his low point was behind the golf ball.
Incredible. And
With the club
folks,
behind the ball.
to what John says about hitting the ball high, I work on the tour and those guys hit it high. Now the ball's
Right.
going fast, but they're
Yeah.
not trying to hit it low down. It's getting launched into the air.
Yeah. Yeah. And the only thing they hit low is the wedges deliberately because they're trying to control how far it flies and generally hitting an off-speed pitch, if you will, with a wedge. But everything else is up in the sky, isn't it?
I got, I'm not name dropping, but I got a couple lessons from Jack Nicklaus, and one of them was hit your long irons or your long clubs high and your wedges low.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
He was pretty good. Okay.
it's pretty good.
I've,
But what's interesting this is a bit nerdy, but I love this stuff. The guy that told me about Tiger on the practice tee at Augusta,
mhm,
I was telling him some stuff like he's before TrackMan. I was telling him about land angles, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, that's really interesting. He said he heard that back in the 60s and 70s, he's friends with Nicholas.
okay.
And he said he told his iron maker to make smaller grooves in the irons because he wanted to stop it with height, not with spin. And I
Interesting.
was like, that's brilliant. The fact that he knew that back then, before we had TrackMan, and he also grew up watching Hogan, who was the best ball striker, allegedly doing it, flighting it.
Mhm.
And Nicholas said, no, I'm just going to send it high and stop it with the ball descending, which is what we're doing now.
Yeah, because on these fast greens, if you get stuff coming in there fizzing, it's coming straight back to you on the putting
Right.
set.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Descend angle is what we're about.
Yeah, there's nothing new under the sun, is there? It's crazy.
No, it's amazing though how these guys look smarter the more we find out, isn't it?
Yeah, no kidding. Right. Speaking of smart, I've shared the Instagram handle. It's at Tattersall Golf. 3 T's, 2 L's, and
Yes.
JN. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell folks where else they can find you, please, John.
I live in Atlanta. I keep Delta in business, it feels like as well. You and me both. But I'm all over the place. I get to travel to great spots and do things. But I live in Atlanta. I have a facility in Buckhead, and I teach at a club just north of town as well, where they make me feel very welcome. I can show up there and see grass and all that good stuff. So I'm fairly easy to find now with social media. So let me know how I can help people.
Folks, I know here recently Golf Digest has ranked golf instructors um, because certain golf instructors are sending in resumes and stuff all the time. As far as instructors go, Jon Tattersall is in the top 10 in my book, if not higher than that.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you.
Well, you're speaking the truth all the time, and the truth will liberate people. And I appreciate you, John, for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, bud. I just got kind of frustrated as you do with what's going on. With a lot of people trying to get better and they're taking time and energy to do that. I want to make sure it's well spent.